Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Movie Collection Spotlight. Today we're going to be taking a look at all the films I have in my collection from one David Fincher. And starting off here, I just want to get into a little bit of how I discovered David Fincher. And I think it was kind of right when I started collecting movies, some of the earliest movies that I collected on DVD. This was circa 2006, 2007, was Fight Club and Seven. I think those are the first two films of his that I saw. They're the first two films I think a lot of people see, and I can understand why. They really set the tone for his rather entire filmography, which always tends to lean on a little bit on the darker side, both in its aesthetics as well as its themes. And for me, I've just absolutely fell in love with those two films. I know Fight Club tends to be the film that a lot of people tend to gravitate towards, but for me, Seven was so cerebral, so fascinating, so philosophically interesting, it's immoral and all kind of stuff, and I really loved it, and I still love it to this day. But that wasn't the first David Fincher film. No, David Fincher actually got his start in his career directing music videos back in the 1980s. He directed some in the 1990s, but his feature debut was actually not a film that I think he's rather proud of. It's a film that had a lot of meddling when it came to studio interference and all that kind of stuff, and that would be Alien 3. And I don't have Alien 3 individually, but I do have Alien 3 in the Alien Anthology Blu-ray set. And I've had this for a number of years. I bought this the day it came out several years ago, and the movies look absolutely fantastic. But when it comes to Alien 3, this was a film that came out, I believe, 6 years after Aliens, which was directed by James Cameron, the first Alien being directed by Ridley Scott. And Alien 3 is a much different film than the first two films. It actually kind of goes back to a lot of the first film elements and whatnot, but it does a lot of things that I personally don't like as a fan. Some changes, some not even retconning, but just some changes when it comes to characters' fates and things like that. But this box set here, the Alien Anthology set, contains several different cuts of each movie. The first film, Alien, has the 79 theatrical cut, as well as the 2003 director's cut. Aliens has 1986 theatrical cut, as well as the 1991 special edition cut. And Alien 3, which is, privy to what we want to know about, it has the 1992 theatrical version, and as well as the 2003 special edition. And that's going to be very important in a second. But lastly here, it has Alien Resurrection, which has the 1997 theatrical version, as well as the 2003 special edition. The reason why that is important is because the special edition cut is also known as the assembly cut. And the reason why that's important is because it is a work print cut of what David Fincher's original vision for the film was. A work print cut is kind of just like a work in progress cut. A lot of the aesthetics aren't fully realized yet. A lot of the CGI isn't done. There's probably a lot of editing and things to do. Post-production stuff still needs to be done. It's in the post-production phase. And that happens to pretty much every single movie. And sometimes work print cuts get released and they become like kind of cult things. And I think this one has become kind of a bit of a cult thing as well. But what is interesting about this work print cut is that it's 37 minutes longer than the theatrical cut, which is significant because that's a lot of time, and also it changes a lot of plot elements as well, which sometimes a lot of extended cuts don't really do, but this one has a lot of plot element changes, and I won't get into all of them. You can read all of those online. I think IMDb has all of them listed out on their website, but let's get to the actual Alien 3 disc. I won't go through this whole set because I think I'll save that for a proper Blu-ray review later, but this is the Alien 3 portion of this set here. As you can see, it says David Fincher right there, as well as a screenshot of the film. And of course, here is the Blu-ray disc right here. And the problem with this type of packaging is that it is this kind of book type packaging. And while it looks nice and it's very solid, really well made and solid, and it's not going to really fall apart too soon, unless of course the glue becomes undone. Unfortunately, when it comes to getting the discs out, that's where the problem tends to arise, because you really have to dig in here and kind of pop the disc out, and sometimes they're stuck. Like this one here is kind of stuck a little bit, or it's a little bit too tight, but came out kind of no problem. Let me just show you what the disc looks like here. But way in the back on this set, there's actually a booklet that goes through all the different contents of each disc. So let's see if we can find the one for Alien 3, and it'll tell us all the special features. Yeah, so disc 3, Alien 3, of course, there's the 2 cuts of the film, like I've already mentioned. There's an audio commentary by cinematographer Alex Thompson, editor Terry Rawlings, alien effects designers Alec Gillis, Tom Woodruff Jr., visual effects producer Richard Edlund, actors Paul McGann and Lance Henriksen, final theatrical isolated score by Elliot Goldenthal, deleted scenes and extended scenes, Mother Mode interactive experience with Wayland Yutani data stream. So that is Alien 3. Next up here is 7, and what I have here is the Blu-ray digibook packaging. And this is something I bought, I think, right when it came out. It's a really, really, cool digibook. I've always been a fan of digibooks. I'm a fan of books in general, so it kind of made sense that I would get the digibook. And as you can see on the back here are a list of all of the special features, usual description of the movie. It even shows you the packaging design, which I guess is a selling point. And then, of course, the usual information down here. Opening up this digibook now, we'll just spin all the way to the back. We'll get a closer look at the disc. There's the disc 7 on Blu-ray. But in here are pages of a lot of different things, mostly just pictures, but some writing as well. And what is very interesting, this is actually foil paper. This isn't like regular book paper. It's not cheap paper at all. I've never seen a digibook with quite this page quality before. Usually they're rather cheap or just regular paper stock. But yeah, very, very interesting. But I won't go through the whole thing. But yeah, 7 is a fantastic film starring Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey, before this whole thing kind of destroyed his career. This was an early role for Kevin Spacey, and it's extremely well acted. Dark as all heck of a film. A psychological crime thriller that kind of really gets inside you, really crawls and kind of irks you a little bit. Next up here is The Game, which is a Criterion Blu-ray release. This film stars Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. It's another film that's a bit of a psychological thriller. It has to deal with a kind of an elaborate game about playing with the mind and the will of Michael Douglas's character. This is a really, really good film. But let's take a closer look here on the back. And here you have the usual Criterion backing. It's got, the usual blurb up top, a list of all the special features, which I definitely will go over, and then technical specs here on the side, and then usual movie credits down below. So let me read these off if you didn't get a good chance to see them. New restored digital transfer supervised by director of photography Harris Savides, who was a great cinematographer, with original 5.1 surround soundtrack presented in DTS HD Master Audio, alternate 5.1 surround mix optimized for home theater viewing, supervised by sound designer Ken Kleiss, presented in DTS HD Master Audio, audio commentary by director David Fincher, Savides, actor Michael Douglas, screenwriters John Brancato, Michael Ferris, digital animation supervisor Richard Dr. Bailey, production designer Jeffrey Beecroft, and visual effects supervisor Kevin Hogue. An hour's worth of exclusive behind-the-scenes footage and film to storyboard comparisons for 4 of the film's major set pieces with commentary. There's also an alternate ending in the trailer and teaser with commentary, plus a booklet featuring an essay by film critic David Sternett. Let's take a look inside. Here is the disc. Now this side here is the booklet. Let's take this booklet out and get a closer look at it. I think there's also inner artwork as well, which Criterion does for several of their releases. Here's a closer look at the booklet. On the back, it's just plain black, but with a silhouette or a shot from the movie. It's very nice, and I believe in here is where the essays are and all kinds of stuff. Let's take a closer look on the inside, where I'll give you a closer look at the disc, as well as the inner artwork. Moving right along now to David Fincher's next film, and perhaps his most well-known film, and that is Fight Club. And as you can see here, I still have the Best Buy price tag on it because I can never get these things off. You can see on there that I tried. I tried at one point. But yeah, here's the front. Here is the back of the slipcover, and it actually opens up here like a gatefold, and you get more artwork and stuff from the film. Let's take the slipcover off, and it's the same exact cover as the slipcover for the most part, same type of design, but it says 10th anniversary edition on the front, and on the back here is the usual list of the special features and all of those things. As you can see, the film stars Brad Pitt once again, as well as Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter is in the film as well. But let's get into the special features. There's a commentary by director David Fincher, a commentary by David Fincher, Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter, a writer's commentary by Chuck Palahniuk and Jim Ulls, a technical commentary by Alex McDowell, Jeff Cronwell, Michael Kaplan, and Kevin Haug, and exclusive to Blu-ray, a hit in the air, Ken Kleiss, and the sound design of Fight Club, Flocking Fight Club featurette, Insomniac Mode, I Am Jack's Search Index, and bonus view enabled player required. And then, of course, there's behind-the-scenes vignettes with multiple angles and commentary, deleted and alternate scenes, trailers, TV, and internal spots, PSAs, and the music video. There's promotional galleries, art galleries, and more. And inside here, you're going to notice that I actually have my DVD copy that I combined with my Blu-ray copy when I was making Blu-ray and DVD combo packs myself years ago, because while I was upgrading, I didn't want to get rid of my DVDs, so I was like, what am I going to do with them? So I decided to combine them. Here you have first the Blu-ray, and then flipping the trays over, you've got the 2-disc DVD set that I had for years ago. I actually had the steelbook that had the soap on the cover, and it was really, really interesting. So I didn't want to get rid of that packaging, but I wanted to keep the discs and I wanted to keep the Blu-ray, so here we are. And I don't think I really need to go over Fight Club. It's a film that's been talked about just so much over the years. It's a bit of a cult classic that's kind of blown up a little bit more. When it came out, it was actually kind of a flop and no one really paid too much attention to it. It's based on a book by Chuck Palahniuk. It's a whole anti-capitalism film. It's really, really fascinating. A lot of people misinterpret what that film is about, and they kind of think it's just a movie like glorifying like hypermasculinity, when it's more than that. But yeah, there's a lot to be said about it, but I'll save that for a different time. Next up here is the lone DVD in my set, and it's the lone DVD because we do not have a Blu-ray release of this movie yet, and that is the special edition DVD set of Panic Room. And this is kind of his most underrated film and most film that's not talked about. The reason why, I think, is just because it kind of gets lost in the bunch. It gets sandwiched in between Fight Club as well as Zodiac, so it's kind of a film that I think really needs to get its due. Unfortunately, there was supposed to be a Blu-ray release of this years ago, but what happened is they were going to release the 4K of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. They were going to give Panic Room a new 4K restoration with a new Blu-ray release, and then they just ended up canceling the whole thing, and that was Sony's doing. And I got really upset because I really wanted to see this movie finally on Blu-ray. But this here is a 3-disc special edition set. I wanted this set because it has, of course, the most extras. So as you can see here, plain cover. This movie stars, of course, Jodie Foster, a very young Kristen Stewart, Forrest Whitaker's in the film, Jared Leto's in the film. But as you can see here on the back, I actually bought it used for probably a really good price. And on the back here, you can see all of the special features. And I'll go over all of these special features rather quickly. Next, commentary by David Fincher, commentary by Jodie Foster, Forrest Whitaker, and Dwight Yoakam, commentary by writer David Koepp, and special guest. Disc 2, 6 featurettes on the prep phase from pre-visualization through testing, interactive pre-visualization, compare the pre-visualization, storyboards, dailies, and final film in a multi-angle, multi-audio feature with optional commentary. Shooting Panic Room, an hour-long documentary on the principal photography phase, makeup effects, featurette with Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr. And on Disc 3 is sequence breakdowns, an interactive look at the creation of 4 separate scenes in the film, and then 21 documentaries and featurettes on the visual effects, on sound design with Ren Kleiss, digital intermediate, and other featurettes dealing with the post-production phase, a multi-angle look at the scoring session conducted by Howard Shore, plus a few surprises. Yes, there is a lot on this edition. But as you can see here, it's a slip box, so the movie slips out like so. And here you have is a nice digipack set with artwork here, artwork on the back. It opens like so. And here you have something very interesting and rather rare, because we don't see these things nowadays. And this is not stacked DVDs, but it's 3 trays on top of one another. That's a bit of a rarity. So here you have the top disc, which is, the feature film, disc 1. Here you have disc 2, which is, of course, the special features. And here you have disc 3, which is, of course, more special features. And, of course, each disc has its own disc art with the different characters on it. And you also get, I don't know if you saw it, but inner artwork here as well. So let me take these discs out and show you the entire inner artwork. So here's all of the inner artwork, all of the trays in one fell swoop. And as you can see, there's an awful glare where you can see my microphone as well as everything else. And now moving on to the next film, we have Zodiac, which is one of my favorite David Fincher films. And as you can see here, the cover is meant to look like a letter, a la one the Zodiac killer would have sent to the San Francisco Chronicle. And on the back here, you also get the special features. And as you can see, the features here are all done vertically, which is rather unique. David Fincher's most thoughtful and involving film by Roger Ebert. I'll be honest, I kind of agree with him. This is a very, very interesting film. It's a rather long-running film, but it's a film I find so engrossing and so interesting. So on the back here, of course, you see the usual listings, the usual credits down below, and let me read off all of these special features for you. First up here it's actually a 2-disc set. So first up here is disc 1. There's a commentary by David Fincher, commentary by Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., Brad Fisher, James Vanderbilt, and James Ellroy. The film does star Jake Gyllenhaal as well as Robert Downey Jr. And then on disc 2 is Zodiac Deciphered, an exhaustive behind-the-scenes documentary on the making of Zodiac. That is very fascinating, how he was able to incorporate CGI in order to recreate the era in which this film took place. And then the visual effects of Zodiac, and of course pre-visualization, split-screen comparisons between animatics and finished film for the 3 murder sequences. And then there's also This is the Zodiac Speaking, a feature-length documentary produced and directed by David Pryor, covering every aspect of the investigation, including interviews with the original investigators and surviving victims. His name was Arthur Lee Allen. The truth about the prime suspect in the Zodiac case from people who knew him and the police who investigated him. Let's take a look on the inside. On the inside here, you get 2 rather plain-looking discs. This is from Paramount. This is usually a Paramount special. Plain-looking gray discs. That's Paramount's kind of MO. That's pretty much also their MO still to this day, unfortunately. So, yeah, nothing really to write home about, no inner artwork, nothing like that. But yeah, it doesn't really matter because the film is just so damn good. If you've never seen Zodiac, it's just absolutely fantastic. But moving right along, we get a film that has a Blu-ray release that's partially a Criterion Collection release and partially one put out by Paramount Pictures. And this is a very, very critically acclaimed film, another collaboration with Brad Pitt, also starring Cate Blanchett, and this is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. As you can see, it has the Director Approved Criterion Collection sticker here on the front, and yeah, it says Criterion all over it, as you can see. But as you can also notice, it's not quite a Criterion release. But on the back here, you get the usual things you're used to seeing with the Criterion release, the usual layout with the special features, as well as the description of the film, and of course all the technical specs. So first up here, we have interviews with Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett, audio commentary featuring Academy Award-nominated director David Fincher, footage revealing the innovative techniques behind the Academy Award-winning visual effects and makeup, step-by-step examination of the motion capture process aging Brad Pitt, in-depth exploration of David Fincher's creative process on the set, interview with acclaimed composer Alexander Desplat about the score, featurettes on the film's storyboards, costumes, and Academy Award-winning art directions, still galleries including costume designs, candid behind-the-scenes production photos, optional French and Spanish dub soundtracks, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, and optional English, French, and Spanish subtitles, plus an essay by film critic Kent Jones. So when I just said that this is kind of not a Criterion release while also being a Criterion release, this is why I don't think it's quite a Criterion release, and that is because it's a regular Blu-ray case, and Criterions don't put out their films in regular Blu-ray cases. As you saw with The Game, they are rather thick, clear plastic cases, very unique to what Criterion does. Here you have the same as the outer slipcover on the front and on the back as well. No difference whatsoever. So let's look on the inside. On the inside, you get the Criterion Collection disc, as well as the booklet. And it's actually a 2-disc set. So there's disc 1, and there's the booklet. And then take the booklet out, and here is disc 2 with all the supplements. Closer look at the booklet here. In the back, you get credits. It's one of these very, very thin fold-out ones with very, very tiny font. And next up here, you have one of his most well-known films, probably the film that's watched by many, many people, praised by many, many people, and that is The Social Network, starring Jesse Eisenberg, Justin Timberlake. This is a film, of course, also starring Andrew Garfield, but this is a film that is about the founding of Facebook, which probably many of you people still use to today. There's the front, and here's the back. It is a 2-disc set as well, but this case is interesting because this is not a slipcover per se. It's kind of a flap slipcover, if you will, because you gotta like take it off like this, and here you have the actual case itself. And the way this opens is it slides out like so, and you have even more artwork. I'll say this, they definitely went all in with the artwork on this one. Here is the 2 discs, which unfortunately have no real artwork on them. They're kind of plain black with just a little bit of a Social Network logo on them. But let me go over all of the special features, because I forgot to do that. So on the first disc is an audio commentary with David Fincher, and then an audio commentary with Aaron Sorkin and cast. This is an amazing screenplay done by Aaron Sorkin. I think this is a fantastic film in general. This is really one of the best films, perhaps, of the decade for many people, and I kind of tend to agree with them. But on the second disc here is How Did They Ever Make a Movie of Facebook? A feature-length documentary in 4 parts. David Fincher and Jeff Cronenweth on the visuals. Angus Wall, Kirk Baxter, Ren Kleiss on post. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, and David Fincher on the score. Yeah, this film has the amazing score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who just did wonders with it. Next here is Ruby Sky VIP Room, multi-angle scene breakdown in the Hall of Mountain King, Reznor's first draft, and then Swarmatron. Next up here is a rather underrated film, I think. It's a film I think I actually saw in theaters around Christmas time, the year it came out, because I think it came out around Christmas. I think the tagline was like the feel-bad movie of the year or something like that. And this is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is, of course, the American Hollywood adaptation of the popular book series that was from Sweden, I believe. And they had their own versions of each film. Unfortunately, this is the only version we have of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and then they kind of skipped over a few books and did another adaptation of one of the books that came out either last year or the year before. Sorry, I don't remember. It wasn't really well received. The movie starred Claire Foy. This film stars Rooney Mara as well as Daniel Craig, and this is a really great film. I really wished that David Fincher got his opportunity to adapt the next book and then the next book. It would have been a really amazing David Fincher's trilogy series, in my opinion, because his aesthetic and his just general tone really fit this world very, very well. But as you can see, here's the front, and here is the back. I apologize, but the focus doesn't seem to want to cooperate with this one, so I got it the best I kind of could, but I'll definitely read over all the special features like I normally do. So here we have Blu-ray special features. Dig deep inside the Younger archives with nearly 4 hours of immersive behind-the-scenes footage, including interviews, rehearsals, screen tests, and more. Also includes an audio commentary with director David Fincher. And then the DVD special features is the audio commentary with director David Fincher. Not really much in the way of special features, but let's take a look at the packaging. Once again, we have very interesting packaging from a David Fincher film. It opens like this, kind of a slip box, and on the back here you have Daniel Craig's character, and on the front here you have Rooney Mara's character. You open it up here, and here you have a 3-disc set. Let me just take this disc out so you get a better look at the 3rd disc. And there is no inner artwork, so there's no real reason to take out all the discs and show you, because nothing in there. If you've not seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I do highly recommend it, because it's a really, really good, like, mystery, thriller, dark film. Good character stuff in there. Even if you've seen the Swedish versions, those tend to be better films, because, you know, we'll kind of have an incomplete series here, but I do still recommend that anyways. And finally here is his 10th and most recent film, and this is Gone Girl, which is another popular book adaptation. This is, of course, from a bestseller, as well as Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This film stars Rosamund Pike as well as Ben Affleck. And as you can see, here is the cover. And on the back here is the special features as well as a description of the film. Let me go through all the special features. Director commentary. Wow, there is not a lot of special features in here. But what this does come with, and it has actually, it's like a thin pack. You'll see it in a moment. It's a thin pack, but what it comes with is The Amazing Amy Tattletale. And this is, of course, if you've seen the film, you understand what this is. It's a direct reference to the film, and it's a storybook about the Amy Dunn character. When she was a child, she was put in these storybooks. You'll see if you've seen the movie. But that's a very cool, interesting addition. I kind of wish there was more special features, but heck, you get what you can get. And what you have in here is just the disc and some background art. Here's the disc. And here is the inside case. And here's the back. Here's the front. Search for Amazing Amy continues. Oh, search for amazing special features also continues. But yeah, that's about it for Gone Girl. And that's also it for David Fincher's filmography. So he hasn't come out with a film since 2014. And that is kind of unfortunate, because it's been 6 years. That's a long time to not come out with a film. But he's been rather active in other regards. He's been directing a lot of stuff for Netflix. He, of course, did several episodes of House of Cards. He also does that series Mindhunter. So he both produces, he's directed a few episodes on that. So he's active. I know that he's had several films that he's kind of been rumored about, or he's trying to get into production, and he never did. He was supposed to do a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea film for several years. That was supposed to be his follow-up to Gone Girl, and perhaps he was going to do, like I said, another Girl with the Dragon Tattoo film. That never happened. He was supposed to direct the World War Z sequel with Brad Pitt. I don't think that ever went really forward, or if it's still maybe up in the air. That has been this entire movie collection spotlight on the films of David Fincher I have in my collection. They are, of course, all of his feature films that he's done so far. Please share with me what your favorite David Fincher films are, and if you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel and subscribe.